Time now to talk with 35th District Representative Drew MacEwan in studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, what a
Good
pleasure.
to see you here.
Yeah, likewise.
And we are a couple days away from a session that's going to end on time. ...
No, they would have needed to be a budget deal last night in order, because once you have a deal, it takes a number of hours to even print the thing,
Sure.
go through checks and make sure there aren't errors, and then to have it, it's gotta sit for a little while under our rules to allow for the public to see
okay.
it. And in the past, that has been suspended, and that's not good government. So, I think the public certainly has a right to see what's in there. And even as a legislator, it's tough to get through that whole thing in a decent amount of time. So, it's rather unfortunate. There's no need for it. They could have increased spending by 14% without changing the tax structure, just with existing revenues that have come in, and instead they being the Democrat leadership in the state, between the House and the Senate, they're fighting amongst themselves as to which taxes to raise and by how much. And I as you know, I don't feel that is necessary. So that's what's holding things up. And the danger is once you go into special session, there's then generally a feel to, well, why do it now? Because you get the June revenue forecast, which all indications are we should still be continuing to grow, which would provide additional revenue through that forecast. And so, and I just, again, it's rather unfortunate. It doesn't need to happen. And back in January, I proposed a rule change in our concurrent resolution with the Senate to move up our cutoff dates by 2 weeks so that we would have this extra time, and that was rejected by the majority leader. And his words were, we have plenty of time to get this done on time, and we don't need to do this. Well, here we are.
So I want to ask you about the makeup of the Senate. They're both controlled by Democrats, in the Democrat Party here. Is the majority of the Senate Democrats from more rural parts of the state versus more urban with the House? You kind of understand what I'm saying, because there's different thought processes when it comes to rural and urban and things like that. Is that where there's some divide, or how, in your opinion, kind of being on the other side, how are they unable to come together on this thing for the same party?
A big part of this is the turnover that happened, not only because of various election defeats that happened, but also just the number of retirements that happened in both chambers, but especially in the House. Over a third of the House turned over, and the Democrats did pick up a lot of seats in the House. And to be fair, if my party were in their shoes, we'd be having these same struggles to a certain degree. But what's happened in the House is the quote freshman class, the new class, is so far to the left that the what I would call the old guard in the House, Frank Chop, the Speaker, and some of the more senior members are more centric, and there's this huge majority of their caucus is very far to the left, and that is a struggle that I think they're having internally within the House. I can't speak so much to the Senate. I think the Senate is a little more to the center just because of numbers than the House is, but that is one of the bigger struggles. And and you go back, this happens throughout history. Again, to be fair, in 1994, when at the federal level, when House Republicans swept through, it was a hard right. And that it is hard to govern with that. I think good government is actually a divided government. Because it forces you to work in the middle. In my first 5 years in the down there, I've been in the minority the whole time, but we had closer margins in the House, and it changes the dynamics. And when there's these large majorities, there's a tendency to take a hard turn to whichever respective party is controlling it, and I think a lot of times that middle ground gets lost.
When did that shift happen? Because we've only been here less than a year from California, and I thought I was the mass exodus, of our family getting out of all the Looney Tune politics and stuff. And then I see so much of it here, and it seems like every other statement I hear from someone in the legislature is, well, we're going to model this after California. I'm like, look at California. It's an absolute disaster. From top to bottom, it's a disaster. Don't copy California. But when did this shift happen? Because I don't remember growing up that. Yeah, really? So that.
Washington's always been, generally speaking, a liberal state.
Yeah.
But it is definitely. When I got elected in 2012, I was the sole Republican pickup. I was the 43rd member in my caucus, and we got up to 48 after the 2016 elections, and then and so they had 50. So it was. It's two, but it's really one vote because you have to have 50 to pass something in the House. But it was in, and then in 2018 we lost 7 seats. And that was a big part of it. But in the Senate, was under Republican control up until 2 years ago. So again, there was that divided government model, for the last 5 years. And it really, the real change happened this past November. It's, again, people are going to elect who they want to represent them. But when you have a huge incoming class that's hard to the left or hard to the right, it pulls the whole dynamic dramatically. Sure. And so but we hear this, well, this is modeled after California.
Yeah,
like, no,
what?
I don't want to do that. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican.
We're our own
California,
state.
based on current demographics, California is going to lose a congressional seat because of the amount of population leaving the state.
With the census next year?
Yeah, I mean that's the current projection. They have 53 seats, and that they would lose one in the U.S. House, and that's because of the population flee that has occurred especially to Nevada and Arizona, and we're seeing it here. I live in Union, and Alderbrook Properties, that is the main builder up in Alderbrook. I'm not speaking for them. This is my understanding is that the majority of new homes that they're selling are to people from California. Wow.
Yeah, we had Sam Smith on Head Pro last week. He says they're doing a bunch of construction up there.
They're selling before they're even really built.
So we've talked on the air here about 3 different budgets when it comes to how the state will be run. Is there any one in particular that is the holdout? There's they're operating, the transportation, and the capital budget. Those are the 3, is that right?
Yeah, the biggest holdup is the operating budget. I mean, that's the main budget for the entire state. And the capital budget is intrinsically tied to it because the debt service for the capital budget is paid out of the operating budget. And because we bond for the capital budget, the transportation budget, for all practical purposes, is self-funded, and so it's kind of the one that's kind of one-off removed. It's easier to get that done because it doesn't really rely on the other ones. The capital budget is always the last budget to go because a lot of it depends on what the operating budget is going to do. And, we've seen things like sweeping of the Public Works Trust Fund, which I adamantly oppose, and so that has routinely happened from the operating budget side, and that directly impacts on what happens on the capital budget. So, but yeah, if a deal can get done on the operating budget, the capital budget literally goes pretty quick.
One of the things that I was talking with folks in the community about the last couple of days, the Shelton Y project, and how it is not on the House side of the budget, but it's in the Senate version. Is there any way that you think that this is the Senate portion of this is going to be voted on in concurrence? Is that what it's called?
So they're in conference right now. So each chamber passed its respective budget, and I've been working hard in the House to ensure that we do what's called buying the Senate position.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly confident that we'll have the Y taken care of in the final budget, and that has probably been one of the main focuses I've had the last few weeks, is making sure that the House goes to the Senate position on that. And I feel pretty good about it. And the other key component to that is the interchange there at Wallace Nealon, where it'll become a roundabout.
Yeah.
That's in the transportation budget. That's $750,000. That's going to stick. That'll happen. That's key though to the Y being built. So I think we're looking good for the Y. And just driving down here today, just thinking about it. Boy, it's a pain for everybody I know right now in Shelton with the number of detours and one road getting closed. One. But I'll tell you, this is gonna be so positive for the community, and I appreciate my colleagues and working to get this funding through. And like I said, it's a bit of a pain in the neck right now, I know, but it's going to be very good when this is done.
Have short memories once it's all.
Oh yeah. And then we'll start doing the roundabout up at Wallace Nealon.
Rip that Band-Aid right off.
Oh yeah,
I do not like those.
But let's get through this. This city, in this area, it's great to see us, really kind of going to that next level. And I think Shelton's always going to kind of be a, relatively speaking, a small town.
Sure.
But we're the improvements that are happening here, and whether it's our local elected officials or the things we're doing at the state level, and I appreciate, again, even though we're in opposite parties, but Congressman Derek Kilmer, and he and I have a great relationship.
Good.
And the things that we've done for this community and working together again with the local leaders is I think we're starting to see the fruition of a lot of that, and that's a good thing.
Well, hopefully we can get some stuff figured out here in the next couple of days. Avoid that session if not, but you mentioned because, was it 72 hours for the public to be able to read these things?
Yeah, they can do what's called a bump and forgo that, but the only reason I would support it is if that we could do the vote on Sunday, not go into special session, because again, my fear is if we go into special session, there is no pressure to get it done until June, and I don't want to see that.
How about seeing your counterpart in the 35th, Representative Griffey, his whole family there with that signing of the bill?
Yeah,
He's
very happy
hard
for
on
him.
that.
He has. I mean, since the day he was elected, that has been his main flagship item, and very happy for him and Dinah to get that done. That's great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Drew, it's good to see you in studio.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
And we'll have a wrap when the session ends. We'll get you back.
Yeah.
We'll have a wrap on
Sounds
that.
good.
Good to see you.
All righty.
It's